spooky season reads that raised me. If you've ever wondered why I write dark, atmospheric, morally complex stories, these books are why. Let's call this spooky season nostalgia, author origin story edition. First is Dracula. Bram Stoker taught me that horror isn't all about blood. It's about dread, seduction, and hunger. This is a creepy, atmospheric classic. It is a grandfather of the genre, and I highly recommend that you read it. Second, Frankenstein, because sometimes the real monster is grief, and also sometimes it's the creator. Frankenstein holds a special place in my heart. It was one of the first horror books I ever read as a second grader, and I did a book report on it that really shocked my teacher, but it's safe to say it definitely made an impression on me even as a kid. And I love Mary Shelley's story and the origins of Frankenstein. Next up is Melissa Marr's Wicked Lovely. This would mark the first time I fell in love with Fae politics and enemies to lovers, but done right. I actually have a hard time reading other Fae court political intrigue books because Wicked Lovely did it so well, and the series in general is just so compelling. I love the Gothic, like emo rock elements, the angst in it, the sense of danger but beauty overlying it. Highly recommend. Okay, next up is pretty much anything by L.J. Smith, but I'd like to highlight the Vampire Diaries and the Dark Visions series. Now, if you've watched TVD and you think you know the Vampire Diaries, no, you don't. The series, the original series, which I think was written, or at least it was published in the early 90s, is a little bit similar, but it's also very, very different. Just down to even Elena as the main character. She's a totally different character. Now, I love TVD. This is nothing against it, but if I had to pick between reading Vampire Diaries my entire life and watching the TV show, I would read the book. L.J. Smith, if you've read any of her books, you know she is so great at writing girls with power and boys with teeth. But even beyond that, the way that she sets the stage in Fells Church, Virginia, not Mystic Falls, it's just so iconic. It sets the stage for spooky season. I literally used to read it every single fall because it would always get me in that mood. And then also Dark Visions, if you love Damon from the Vampire Diaries, you will love Gabriel in Dark Visions. And this also will give you an opportunity to read kind of a supernatural, urban fantasy, mystery, adventure type story. But if you want something different than the normal vampire werewolves trope, Dark Visions features a group of teens that have powers that they're learning how to utilize at this shrouded in mystery, potentially cult-like institute. So it features kids that have telekinesis, clairvoyance, telepathy, a variety of powers. It's a really cool story. It's a trilogy, and I highly recommend both L.J. Smith series. Next is Blue is for Nightmares, which features a boarding school, a mystery, and witchcraft. And it basically wrote the blueprint for dark academia before it was even a trend. I love the candle magic. It got me interested in learning more about that. Also the romance that's interwoven with the mystery elements and the friendship. It's such a cool series. I think there are 4 books in the series, and it's very atmospheric. Definitely will send a chill down your spine. Next is The Dark Angel by Meredith Ann Pierce. This is gothic fantasy romance, so haunting. It still to this day lives in my head rent-free. Mind you, I think I read this when I was 11 years old, and I've reread it multiple times since then. Ariel's growth story, where she goes from kind of this weak girl who's absolutely in love with this dark but very handsome figure who very well could spell her demise, into this warrior and this hero who ultimately has to make a very difficult decision regarding this love of her life figure, larger than life man. It's very inspiring. I think it's a great read for any girl, regardless of age, but especially when you're younger. I would definitely read The Dark Angel. Next is Christopher Pike's The Last Vampire series. These are cinematic, fast-paced horror with heart. I inhaled this series, and the really cool thing was I read this series sometime when I was in high school, and after I read it, I passed it on to my grandmother, and she also absolutely loved them because my grandmother is Hindu, I'm half Indian, and I'm Christian, and we both thought it was so cool because he really interweaves these various various religions. He interweaves history, also vampiric lore. I mean, there's so many elements in this series. I can't believe it's not spoken about more. It's one of my favorite vampire stories of all time. But like I said, it's very fast-paced. It's more of a horror action adventure. It's so fun. And Sita, the main character, is such a badass. Probably one of the coolest female vampires I have ever read in fiction. Last but not least, Sabriel, my all-time favorite book. If you're looking for magic with rules, stakes that hurt, and heroines that choose courage, this is the book for you. Sabriel as a character is ever inspiring. Her journey and the stakes of this book with her father, who protects the world from the undead. He sends them back, he battles them if and when he needs to. He goes missing, and Sabriel, who when she gets older is supposed to take on his mantle, she is forced as a schoolgirl to go looking for him in the Old Kingdom, which is where the dead can walk, and she has to take on his bells, his bandolier, and his sword and fight them and try to bring him back or rescue him if he's even still alive. It's a hero's journey, it's a fantasy, but it is also, there's an older fantasy world that's overlaid with a world that's more like our modern day world, so it's kind of urban fantasy adjacent. But the horror in this book, it's not so much the gore, it's the dread, and it's just this atmospheric tension that Garth Nix builds up. I remember reading this at night and just having chills dancing along my spine. There's also a little bit of romance that is incredibly compelling and so well done, and it really shows you how you don't need a heavy hand with elements in books to really make them hit home and make them touch the heart of the reader. So anyway, highly recommend Sabriel by Garth Nix. As I said, it is my #1 all-time favorite book. These books didn't just make me love reading and fall in love with spooky season as a whole, but they inspired me to be a writer and to craft stories filled with urban fantasy and mystery, dark academia, magic, adventure, romance with high stakes, and of course, a touch of horror. So let me know what your spooky season favorite reads are, even better if they're nostalgic. And as always, happy reading, happy writing, happy editing, and happy querying. Did you think we were done with spooky season? Don't you know? Spooky season is never done with us. So this is part 5 of spooky season reads that raised me. First is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. Like Blue is for Nightmares, A Great and Terrible Beauty pretty much encompassed dark academia before it was ever really a trend. Gothic boarding schools, secret realms, and dangerous friendships. It taught me that magic and femininity can be both powerful and yet terrifying. It was the one I would go to read on those rare afternoons in high school when I didn't have volleyball practice after school and I could come home and grab a good book, and I would curl up with some green tea. It was rainy outside. It really set the vibes of the Spence Academy in London, which is the boarding school that is featured in the book. Next is Cirque du Freak, A Living Nightmare, which is book 1 of the series. These books were vampires, loyalty, and moral grayness consumed in a cloud of circus smoke and horror. Even though it had its scary moments, it also was a really fun read. It had a levity and kind of comical element to it while having these, dark horror undertones. If you liked Hunger Games or Vampire Academy, or you in general like that dark circus freak show type theme, then I think you would really like Cirque du Freak. So let me know if you want a part 6 where we can talk about the Vampire Academy and other spooky season nostalgic favorites.